Mrs. Brandy McKell. Now, at 30 seconds, she is going to raise her hand. At time, she is going to applaud. That is when your time has concluded for that given segment. And we ask that you stick by that strictly. So candidates in this debate may request rebuttals by indicating to me, the monitor, when directly challenged. But I retain the absolute authority to approve or dictate time limits on those rebuttals. All dialogue has to go through me, so please don't address each other. You can say my opponent or Mr. Durrant or Ms. Larson, in that sense, but please don't speak directly to each other. Another rule which we have received from feedback in other debates is please do not stand up. Please do not keep on standing up and down, up and down, up and down when you would like to give your responses. For those of you in the commission races a little bit later, the same rule is going for you. So we are very grateful that you are participating, but we ask that you participate seated. Okay, we now will start our opening statements. I believe that Jackie is going first, and our timing begins now.
Great. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming out tonight. My name is Jackie Larson, and I'm one of the candidates for House District 64. I live here in Spanish Fork. I am also married to a Spanish Fork native. Our family farms in the Leland and Spanish Fork and Salem area. We've been farming for over 170 years and 8 generations. We have 2 kids. We live just down the road here in downtown Spanish Fork as well. Professionally, I have worked in healthcare for over a decade as a revenue cycle management, where I work in complex policy and reimbursement systems. I've also been actively involved in public policy for several years, from grassroots efforts all the way up to state and national levels as well, where I've worked on issues with agriculture, water, infrastructure, transportation, and housing. And I'm running because I believe that our area and our community deserves representation who will fight for and also understands.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Durrant.
Thank you all for coming out, especially in this weather. My name is Matt Durrant, and I am originally from Sandy, and then I've lived in Salem for the last 5 years and Spanish Fork the 5 years before that. I have been involved in the Republican Party for a very long time, ever since I was has been bringing me to these type of events. And for the last 10 years, I have been a delegate, either county and or state. In the last 4 years, I've been a party officer. So I've been involved in the party. I've been in your seats, vetting candidates. And I look forward to representing you and working on issues that we all face, protecting the family, looking at affordability, making sure that we're growing responsibly. So some of my background is I work with people with disabilities, and I love what I do, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much. All right, let's jump right on to our very first question. During the 2025-2026 sessions, the legislature passed HB 48, requiring municipalities to adopt the 2006 Wildland Urban Interface Code and imposing state-assessed tax fees for non-compliance. This mandate effectively utilizes local fire chiefs as proxy state tax assessors. The House District 64 representative must balance these state directives with the Republican platform's defense of municipal sovereignty and private property. Would you categorize the HB 48 mandate as an unacceptable state overreach that unfairly utilizes local fire chiefs as proxy tax assessors? If so, how will you statutorily manage or repeal the attached punitive tax fees to restore municipal sovereignty? And I believe it is going to be Matt first, and then we'll be rotating who goes first.
Yeah, so I remember watching this come out. I read the article about it, and my initial thought was, this is a dumb idea. Why are we doing this? I believe in local control. We need to respect the levels of government. The government closer to the people governs better. And I also don't believe in taxation without representation. We shouldn't be allowing unelected people to gather taxes. Our founding fathers went to war over that. So we need to be very careful to guard against that. And so I would absolutely be in favor of an outright repeal of this and looking at, okay, if we do need something like this, what is a better way to do that? And so I would want to work with the local cities to manage that.
So I agree, yes, I do believe with the first part of the question that it is an acceptable state overreach. From what I understand, it also does benefit certain insurance companies in a way that I don't believe that it should. And the maps are also not entirely accurate. I have spoke with Representative Tom Peterson, who I believe was the House sponsor on this. He's also been working on additional legislation as well. And I believe that there are some things that we need to be walking back and making sure things are in place that need to be there, but accurately represented and not benefiting any special entities.
Thank you very much. All right, our next question. The $95 million Payson Parkway interchange and Spanish Fork I-15 assessment are deadlocked by UDOT to ensure compatibility with UTA's theoretical front-runner expansion. Utah County absorbs 43% of state growth, making surface gridlock a critical local vulnerability. However, state funding consistently prioritizes multi-billion-dollar transit megaprojects over immediate vehicular throughput in southern Utah County. Would you make decoupling District 64's immediate I-15 interchange construction from UTA's long-term front-runner timeline a primary legislative priority? If so, how would you leverage your position to force UDOT to comply? Ms. Larson.
Great. This is going to be hard to answer in 60 seconds. I've actually been a stakeholder on both the Payson Parkway interchange as well as the Spanish Fork I-15. I'm not sure if this question is related to the Center Street interchange or the Benjamin interchange. There is lots of, I guess, algorithms in the way that they rate how interchanges are funded. I do believe that UTA's front runner station should be separate from the UDOT interchange, and I fully support the interchanges in both Payson and Benjamin going forward. I have a great working relationship with UDOT, and I look forward to working with them further on this.
Thank you. Mr. Durrant.
Yeah, so we absolutely need to look at our infrastructure and supporting that. And if, in order to get what we need sooner, if we need to decouple that, let's do it. Let's have those conversations. I know there's a lot of people involved in these already, and so I would absolutely want to pair with those people and work with them. I don't want to jump in and get too many hands in the pot to make a problem. So I want to make sure that we're talking to the right people, that we're using our position to get what we need here in the area, and making sure that it works for us and the residents, and that we're growing in a responsible way.
Thank you very much. All right, our next question. Utah recently allocated $123 million to a third-party vendor for the Utah Fits All program, bypassing standard agency transparency. Simultaneously, the Nebo School District carries $223 million in bond debt, leveraging the state guarantee program to raise tax increments with minimal public friction. A representative must manage the fiscal architecture of both the expanding private voucher system and the K-12 public system. What specific statutory limits will you implement or support to enforce transparency on third-party voucher vendors and restrict local school districts from automatically adjusting tax increments? I'll begin, I believe, with Mr. Durrant.
Perfect. Yeah, so I think we need to definitely watch our taxpayer dollars very closely. We are the safeguard for that. And so we have the school boards that are elected positions, and we need to make sure that we are holding them accountable to what they should be doing. And if we need to implement regulation for that, let's absolutely look at that and make sure that we're utilizing that. Anytime we're using state money or government money for different projects, there are always strings attached. And so let's make sure that those are the correct strings to make sure that the student is the one who is benefiting and that money isn't being siphoned away to non-student related expenses.
Thank you, Ms. Larson.
So I think that we need to make sure that public money is going to public uses and public education, as well as we need to have local control, not as much state overreach. I want to see that the money is going to the kids and to the teachers, and that we are giving them the tools that they need to succeed in the future. As far as enforcing transparency, I think on every level we need to make sure that we are having transparency, and if we are giving these money to third-party voucher vendors, that there is the same compliance and same transparency that's needed across the boards and all levels.
Thank you. All right, our next question. In 2024, the legislature passed the Capital City Revitalization Zone Act, authorizing $900 million in taxpayer-backed bonds to subsidize a private NHL stadium. Simultaneously, the state utilizes programs to offer massive tax reductions to select corporations. The Utah County Republican Party platform explicitly condemns corporatism and public-private partnerships, yet the supermajority of the legislature consistently incentivizes mega projects. What is your exact threshold for state-backed corporate incentives, and under what conditions will you vote against future state-directed mega project subsidies like the Point?
It's me, right?
I believe it's you.
So I don't think that the state needs to be in the business of giving billionaires taxpayer money, plain and simple. I also think that corporatism is not a brilliant infrastructure funding mechanism. Under what conditions will I vote against it? I believe that I pretty fairly would, anything that's PIDs, anything that is private public infrastructure or private public practices, I would actually probably vote against.
Thank you.
So I'm absolutely opposed to using taxpayer dollars for private enterprises, and so it's going to be a no vote for me. I didn't like the idea of the money going towards the stadiums in the first place, and I wouldn't support that. When it comes to, and so really that partnership should have happened at the city or county level if they wanted to have those things. Having state taxpayer dollars go towards a specific entity in a specific location benefits that specific area. And so people in other areas aren't benefiting from that. And so if we're using taxpayer dollars, we need to make sure that the support, that the benefit is for statewide efforts and endeavors.
Thank you very much. Following the Utah Supreme Court's Proposition 4 ruling, the legislature convened a special session for Amendment D, seeking constitutional authority to unilaterally rewrite voter-approved initiatives. Southern Utah County voters increasingly rely on referenda to oppose high-density zoning, yet new state regulations on signature gatherers threaten this process. Would you categorize the recent statutory barriers placed on grassroots referendum organizations as an infringement on the democratic process or participation? If so, how will you legislatively balance the rights of the electorate against the authority of a supermajority? I can't remember.
I think it's me.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so this question, I was actually just reading this last night, trying to go to sleep. I was reading the Constitution, and it didn't work. I didn't fall asleep. But I was reading about this, and the wording of the proposed amendment was a little confusing to me, so maybe I should reread it again when I'm not so tired. But when it comes to the referendum process, that is an important process that we need to maintain. I don't agree with the Supreme Court interpretation on it, so there does need to be clarification so that we're all on the same page. And I believe in our legislative process. However, the referendum process is an important part of our republic, our democratic republic. So we need to make sure that we are safeguarding that, because it is our safeguard against an out-of-control legislator, as we deem. And so what we really should be doing is looking to refine it versus absolutely control it.
Thank you. Ms. Larson.
So I look at this as there's two parts to this, both referendums and initiatives. I actually was the only one in our city who has organized and sponsored the only local land use referendum, because I do believe that there needs to be a recourse that we can be taking to challenge and question a legislative decision. That being said, initiatives I have concerns with, because once those are set in place, unless you're actually in there working the law, we need to make sure that there are availability to appoint without losing the context of the purpose of the initiative, that we can make certain adjustments as needed. That being said, I fully support referendums. Initiatives, I do have some concerns with. The Amendment D, I'm not entirely sure that I'd be in favor of it.
Thank you very much. All right. Utah is litigating before the U.S. Supreme Court to regain 18.5 million acres of federal BLM land. As a representative, you will fund this litigation and establish the statutory framework for managing this new territory. The conservative mandate demands localized control while protecting public access and preventing the privatization of Utah's heritage. Would you categorize the privatization of newly acquired state lands to extractive industries as an unacceptable method for offsetting state budget deficits? If so, what specific statutory protections would you enact to take that option off the table if federal jurisdiction is neutralized? Ms. Larson.
Okay, so this is also another complex question that I would love to talk with anybody afterwards. My family actually does utilize federal grazing permits, and I do believe that with the amount of federal grounds that we have in the state of Utah, that does need to be under state control, not federal control. I think there's a lot of nuance to this question, and I think if it is neutralized, we just need to make sure that we have state control, not federal control over most of Utah's lands.
Thank you. Mr. Durrant.
So this is also outlined in the Utah Constitution, and so there are rules and guidelines for how we utilize those things. And so absolutely, the more local control that we can have, the better. Utah can run Utah lands better than the federal government can run Utah lands. And so we need to make sure that we are controlling what we have. Now, we want to be careful that we're not just selling off all of our lands. So we want to make sure that we're protecting those areas, where we're utilizing those for people who need it for grazing, for other purposes. But we want to make sure that, yes, I think that we do need to get control of those, but we need to make sure that we aren't just privatizing all that land and losing control of it completely.
Thank you very much. All right, on to water. The legislature passed SB 198, centralizing water management under a state office, while burdening small municipalities seeking unified water infrastructure plan funding. Southern Utah County's hypergrowth relies on converting 61,000 acre-feet of agricultural water, a process destabilized by federal litigation over return flow credits. The platform demands the party platform demands localized resource control. But state legislation increasingly centralizes water authority. How would you leverage state appropriations to shield local water rights from federal claims? And what steps will you take regarding the centralization of unified water infrastructure plan funding mechanisms? I believe it's Mr. Durrant.
Wonderful. I love water. I love to drink water. So we need to make sure that we are protecting water, but we also have to understand that water issues are not the exact same across the state. And so having a one-size-fits-all, we need to be really careful with that. So the same water issues that they have up north aren't going to be the same ones that they have down south, or the ones that we have here in our district. And so we need to make sure that there is a say here in our area of how we're using that water and expressing our needs for that water. And so I would absolutely push for more local control. Let's make sure that we don't, whenever government gets bigger, it's usually not a good thing. So I'm for smaller governments and for more local control, especially when it comes to water. That's a precious resource and we need to protect it, especially when we have years like this. And
thank you very much. An excellent prompt ending. Ms. Larson, thank you.
So I have a lot of concerns with this, especially considering that water is covered in Utah's Constitution for beneficial use. There isn't just private, or I guess there's not just local control over it, especially in our district. We need to understand that while half of our district geographic area does use municipal water systems, the other half of it relies on their private wells and their water rights. So we need somebody in the state legislature who understands return flows, depleted use, how the aquifer works, and making sure that we aren't taking water away from those who rely on their beneficial use of their water and those who have a earlier use than priority use states, and that's not lost in the managing of our water.
Thank you very much. Following court decisions voiding Amendment D and reinstating Proposition 4, the legislature rapidly passed SB 134, expanding the state Supreme Court from 5 to 7 justices. The supermajority argued this increases judicial efficiency, while constitutional watchdogs view it as a retaliation designed to dilute the court's ideological composition after it checked legislative power. Would you consider the possibility of the rapid passage of SB 134 as representing an unconstitutional encroachment by the legislative branch upon the judiciary? If so, how exactly will you formulate the metrics required to differentiate between necessary judicial administration and legislative retaliation?
It's me, right? It's me?
Yes.
Okay, so I would, consider the possibility of the rapid passage. I don't know that it was a rapid passage of SB 134. I feel like there was different layers that kind of went into this. I do, to a point, agree that we do need to have the 3 constitutional judges. Some situations where things would need to go that route versus where they keep getting overturned and going to the same Democratic judges over and over again, and we're not seeing the movement that we need to in our largely Republican state.
Thank you.
So I do feel like this was passed pretty rushed. The timing wasn't great considering the battle that we're having with the district maps, and so we may have needed it, but the timing I think was a little early, and the perception is that it's viewed as the legislature and the judicial branch are now fighting with each other. And so I think that we can publicize that better and handle that more gracefully. As far as control over each other, the legislator is the lawmaker. They're the ones that decide the rules, and they, to a certain extent, get to decide the makeup of the judicial branch. And so adding these safeguards to the judicial branch, I think was not only necessary, but it's well within the legislator's purview. And so I think as long as the intentions are pure, it's something that was needed.
Thank you. House Bill 209 mandates documentary proof of citizenship for voter registration, forcing county clerks to conduct retroactive audits, and relegating non-compliant voters to federal-only ballots. Ensuring absolute electoral integrity is a primary Republican mandate. However, aggressive election law modifications place massive unfunded administrative burdens on local clerks and risk systematically disenfranchising legal voters lacking immediate access to vital records. If a retroactive audit purges legally registered District 64 voters due strictly to administrative friction, not legal compliance, but administrative friction, what legislative solutions will you propose to balance absolute ballot security with voter enfranchisement? Enfranchisement? Getting voters to vote.
So we absolutely want to make sure that we are protecting our right to vote and our access to the ballot. And so what I have an issue with is passing laws and retroing them several years into the past, thus necessitating an audit like this. One of the biggest complaints I hear from local leaders is the state legislator is passing on unfunded mandates. I've heard that word so many times, unfunded mandates. And so we have to be really careful that what we're asking people to do isn't causing too much of a burden. So we absolutely want to make sure that our elections are secure, but we also want to make sure that if there is a financial cost, that we are looking at that and we're making sure that the burden doesn't then fall to the local leaders to carry out a mandate passed down by the state.
Thank you, Ms. Larson.
I probably won't take the full 60 seconds on this because I agree with a lot of what you had said. I think, though, we do need to make sure, we have to make sure that it is our U.S. citizens and those in Utah who are voting in our elections. If it does take additional money to make sure that that is being done, so be it, but we need to make sure that we are on the right track and making sure that we do have only citizens voting in our elections.
Thank you very much. We are going to proceed to our last question of this round prior to closing statements. Party leadership identifies a critical governance vulnerability. Elected officials defaulting to yes under pressure from lobbyists, non-governmental organizations, and internal leadership. While campaigning on universal tenets like the Second Amendment requires minimal courage, true operational resilience demands absolute, non-negotiable boundaries against special interests. Excluding universal conservative talking points, what specific piece of legislation or budget allocation passed in the last 3 years would you have unequivocally voted against? So one that is passed that you would have voted against. And in what exact policy area do you guarantee a no vote, regardless of retaliation from your own political leadership? Yes, Jackie, Ms. Larson.
So what budget allocation passed or specific piece of legislation? Senator McKell, not to call you out or anything, but this shouldn't be any surprise that your Senate Bill 119 that went against the Constitution for the local land use referendums, I would have voted no against that one. Should not be a surprise. Let's see, any area that I agree or that I guarantee I will be a no vote regardless of retaliation. I don't know that I would actually be expecting that there would be any sort of retaliation from our party, but ultimately what it comes down to is what's constitutional. That's where I'm going to vote and be making sure that I'm representing our constituents, because that is the role as a representative, is to be representing you, regardless of my own opinions on anything.
Thank you. Mr. Durrant.
So I've mentioned this a few times. I am not a big advocate for dumping water into a dead lake. I'm referring to the Great Salt Lake. And so that would be a no vote for me. Passing a budget specific item towards the Great Salt Lake, trying to raise the water level, that's a no vote for me. And so that's one that I would do that way. The other thing I'm going to say is my grounding principle. So we have our current Utah County Republican Party platform, where we have the new one being presented on Saturday, which I hope it passes. And I will have that on my desk, and I'm going to be using that to vet bills. And so if it goes against the party platform, and I agree with the majority of that platform, if it goes against that party platform, it's going to be a no for me, and I'm going to have a reason why. I want to make sure that all of the votes that I put towards any bill, I have a reason why.
Thank you very much. We will now proceed into closing statements for this debate. The previously determined order was to have Mr. Durrant go first, and we'll end with Ms. Larson.
And can you remind me the time?
60 seconds.
60 seconds. Perfect. So again, I thank you for coming out, being a delegate. I've been one for 10 years. It's a lot of work, especially with so many commissioners to vet as well. So I appreciate the time that you've taken to talk to me, to take my phone calls, to come to my events, and to really ask me hard questions. I've gotten a lot of really deep diving questions. You've grilled me, and I felt it. You've put my feet to the fire, and I appreciate that. I appreciate this process, and I hope that you continue to hold me accountable when I'm elected, that you don't go away, right? I am your representative. I want to be accountable to you, and I want you to hold me accountable to the things I vote for and find out why I voted certain ways. Whether you agree with me or not, I want to have a reason, and I want you to hold me accountable. My name is Matt Durrant. I ask for your vote.
Okay, well, I want to thank you all so much for coming out tonight, and thank you for the great questions, Chase, and I thank you for putting this together. So I'm the candidate who can truly represent and bridge both the rural and suburban parts of our district. I didn't just step in during election season, and I've been showing up and doing the work and asking the hard questions for years. I'm asking for your vote, and so I can continue fighting for our families, our community, and the values that make this place our home. I look forward to representing you. My name is Jackie Larson, and I look forward to talking to you more.
Thank you very much. Now, I am going to ask you to stand up. Those of you who are elected delegates in House District 64, please stand up. If elected, these people are the ones to whom you are accountable first. These are the individuals who govern whether or not you receive the nomination and receive it in election years, re-election. So keep in mind that accountability starts here. Thank you very much.